A resident confronts volunteers at this supervised consumption tent. Volunteers say there have been other incidents from Lethbridge residents, a city with a high Indigenous homeless population. The site was set up for media availability when the presser was interrupted.
This is my kid's bus stop.
For these harm reduction workers and supporters, it's been a fight to help those struggling with addictions. The pop-up site began operations in September after a government-funded site closed its doors due to misuse of funding. Over $1 million was unaccounted for. The thing is, this site was the most used supervised consumption site in Canada. It saw about 500 visits a day before it was shut down. A much smaller mobile site was set up in its place. But Dr. Susan Edelman, a physician for the nearby blood reserve, says more needs to be done.
It's just one thing after another, and we don't feel like we're getting the help we need. If we had more reliable supervised consumption services, including maybe safe supply, a lot of these things wouldn't exist. A lot of these problems wouldn't exist because people who are reliant on one substance would be able to get that one substance.
Indigenous resident Martin Heavyhead says people on the streets need the extra supports that came with the original consumption site.
There was access to counselors, there was access to Indigenous cultural people who have knowledge. There was a clinic there. There were a lot more services that were available to the people on the street with very, very limited barriers.
In a statement to media, the provincial government said the tent is operating illegally and is in contravention of the criminal code in Canada. Therefore, it's been monitored heavily by police.
To see the crisis in Lethbridge.
Volunteer Tim Slaney says he is questioned by police and members of the public as to why it's still operating.
Our questions are honestly outweighed by the questions that we get from our participants. Those are questions like, do you have any naloxone kits? Can you help us find clean needles because there's none left in town? Can you please help us get medical attention for this wound that is now badly infected because we aren't able to access clean supplies or a clean, safe place to use our drugs?
Despite the opposition, Slaney says the tent will be available to those that need it for as long as possible, because while disputes continue, there are still people on the streets that need help.
We still have a lot of work to do, and we can't go home until we're allowed to do that work.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Lethbridge.